You are 14. The engine hasn't turned over in 3 months. It's an old two-stroke dragged out of a relative's shed. The float is missing from the carburetor. The spark plug looks like it's been sitting at the bottom of a lake. On paper, it makes maybe 4 horsepower. Right now, it makes nothing. Your garage is one stall, crowded with a freezer, 2 bicycles, and 30 years of oil soaked into the floor. You order a rebuild kit from a website that hasn't changed since the 90s. 2 weeks pass before it arrives. You clean the carburetor, fit a new needle, swap the plug, check the oil mix because a two-stroke starved of lubrication destroys itself in minutes. You kick the starter. Nothing. You adjust the mixture screw a quarter turn. You kick again. A cough. Something. One more kick, harder, and the engine catches. It runs rough for 3 seconds and dies. But it ran. You are standing in a cloud of exhaust, feeling something you will spend your life chasing. 2 more weeks of small adjustments, and the bike finally settles into a steady rhythm. On the street, the law caps your speed. In the field behind your house, nobody's asking how fast it really goes. You ride it for a year. Things break. You fix them. A throttle cable snaps at the worst second, and you learn instantly why riders always carry a spare. Every failure is a lesson, wearing the disguise of bad luck. 2 years pass. You're 16 with a real license in your pocket. You buy a small sport bike. It's a proper little machine in miniature. Fairings, clip-on bars, a riding position that will negotiate with your spine for years to come. You don't care. It looks the part, and that matters more at 16 than you'll ever admit later. 11 horsepower feels like a new universe next to 4. On the motorway, the engine screams just to hold pace, and you're flat against the tank fighting the wind. It's limited. You know it's limited, but you're learning things here nothing faster could teach you. Trail braking into a bend, looking through the corner, not at it. How your whole body steers the machine, not just your hands. A mistake here puts you on the ground. The same mistake on something far more powerful happens before your brain even registers it. For 2 years, you ride every evening there's daylight left, learning your town's roads the way you'd learn a person, where the tarmac dips without warning, where gravel washes in after the harvest. That small, humble machine teaches you to read the road. It might be the most important thing this sport ever gives you. At 18, somebody invites you to a motocross field. The bike underneath you now weighs 1/3 of what you're used to. On tarmac, lean correctly and it simply goes around the corner. On dirt, nothing holds still. The back steps out, the front pushes wide. You come off 4 times that first afternoon. None of it hurts because the speed is low and the ground forgives what asphalt never would. You get back up without a second thought because falling here carries none of the weight it carries on the road. A year of loose dirt changes you permanently. You stop fearing the rear wheel sliding because you felt it slide 1,000 times and you know exactly what it feels like, a heartbeat before it becomes a real problem. You learn to move with the bike instead of fighting it, and when you go back to the road, you're not the same rider. 20 years old, the last restriction on your license lifts. You buy a mid-sized twin, close to 90 horsepower, completely naked, nothing hiding the engineering. It's not an extreme machine, it's an honest one. It does exactly what you ask, without demanding you become a hero to use it properly. The brakes are sharper, the suspension actually works, the acceleration is real for the first time. But mostly what's different is mass. Small mistakes no longer correct themselves the way they used to. 2 years on this bike, across every kind of road, motorways, mountain passes, commutes, track days, where a naked bike feels exactly as awkward as you'd expect and teaches you things tarmac alone never could. You discover you can brake far harder than you assumed. Corner speeds that felt impossible start to feel ordinary.
Your limits, it turns out, sit much further away than you believed. The only way to find them was to go looking. Your riding becomes smooth. Not slow, smooth. That difference matters more than almost anything else on two wheels. Smooth means every input is deliberate, weight moves predictably, and you can go fast without ever looking like you're trying. A rider 1 year in looks urgent, even standing still. A rider 5 years in looks relaxed, at a speed that would frighten anyone watching. You are becoming the second kind.
23, no restrictions left. You sell the twin and buy an Italian V-twin with a sound unlike anything else on the road. This machine has a personality. Riding it feels less like operating a vehicle and more like negotiating with one. It teaches you what torque actually means. That surge between corners, the mid-range pull that pins you to the seat without warning. Open the throttle too early exiting a bend and the front wheel goes light, just enough to tell you you've asked for more grip than the tire can offer. You ease off, the front settles. You repeat this until you know exactly where that line sits. You start traveling, not weekends, weeks at a time. You pack light because a motorcycle demands it, and that turns out to be one of the sport's quiet gifts. Mountain passes in the Alps, empty roads through the south of France once the crowds have gone home. These journeys were never really about the destination. They were about everything that happened between one town and the next. 26 now. The V-twin goes up for sale, not because it failed you, but because you're ready and you know it. You buy a full superbike, over 200 horsepower, wrapped in electronics, traction control, wheelie control, launch control, a computer managing forces that would kill you if you tried alone. On the road, at legal speeds, it's almost silent. The real power stays theoretical. You have to go to a circuit to understand what this machine actually is. So you do. The first thing you notice standing beside it in the pit lane is how still it feels, how quiet, like a machine holding its breath. Your first track day is the most intense afternoon this sport has given you. You're braking later than instinct says is safe, and the front tire is still finding grip. You're carrying speed through corners your brain refuses to approve of, and the bike goes through anyway because the electronics work faster than your fear does. You sit in the paddock afterward for 10 minutes, saying nothing at all. You keep coming back, 6 or 8 track days a year. Your lap times fall steadily, not because you're braver, but because you're more precise. Where you brake, where you get on the throttle, the exact line through the corner. These differences are measured in centimeters. Your road riding changes too, not because you go faster, but because you're more in control. You've already found the edge of grip, somewhere the consequences were managed. The road now feels slow and deliberate by comparison. 30 years old, 10 years, 10,000 kilometers a year. The experience lives in your body, in your reflexes, in how you read a road before you've even started riding it. 2 close calls in a decade, neither serious. A car pulling out you'd already begun braking for, and gravel in a bend you felt through the bars half a second before it mattered. You don't call these near misses, you call them the moments your instincts were right. A dozen bikes have passed through your hands, each teaching you something the last one couldn't. You still feel a spark around motorcycles, though it's different now than at 14. Quieter, deeper, filtered through everything you've learned. 35. People starting out find their way to you now, not because you sought it, but because word got around. You tell them the truth. The old 2-stroke in the garage, the small sport bike and the years spent on it before anything bigger, the dirt riding that rewired your instincts. You tell them the most dangerous gap in this entire sport is the space between what a machine can do and what its rider can actually manage. You tell them to close that gap slowly. Some listen, build slowly, and become the kind of rider you enjoy sharing a road with. Some don't. They buy something far beyond what they can manage and either learn something painful or stop riding altogether. 30 years old now, and you're still out here, still finding roads you haven't ridden, still feeling somewhere underneath everything the exact same thing you felt the moment that old moped first coughed to life. On a quiet Tuesday morning, you pull out of the garage with nowhere in particular to be. The bike doesn't matter anymore. What matters is the corner ahead, the tires loading up beneath you, every ounce of your attention pulled into this one single moment. There has never been anywhere else you'd rather be. And somewhere tonight, there's a 14-year-old standing in a garage next to a machine that won't start, holding a box of parts that just arrived, asking a question they don't have words for yet. The road will answer it.